All right, we're back again with Dave Make, and we are talking through the pitch it. Some of the pitch it contestants, they volunteer to come on my podcast. I'm, you think I'd abuse them or I threaten them somehow. They actually volunteer to come onto the podcast.
I thought you were.
And
Wait a second.
I should have said that after we recorded. So, Dave, tell us a little bit about DefenseX, what you guys bring to the table. What's the problem you solve for MSPs?
So we are base out of the gate. Starting product is a DNS solution, really inexpensive. We only charge 25 cents a license at that level. But the true secret sauce for DefenseX is the protection on the browsing level. So protecting everyday browsing, making sure that people are not going to the wrong sites. Also protecting against any credential threats and file downloads or drive-by downloads. So yeah, it's our product is expansion or next generation of a DNS product, giving way more flexibility to how you can protect a user on a day-to-day basis without being to that really black and white. Sorry, you can't go there. Yes, you can go there. So we give that flexibility of being able to maneuver a little bit better.
That's nice.
Yeah.
A little wiggle room there.
A little wiggle room. Lots of wiggle room.
Dave and I were actually started talking about the podcast and like, oh crap, we're not recording. We should get, this is good stuff. We're talking about which conferences we really enjoy, which ones we get a good bang out of, and why. Like, so anybody who's seen us at a conference knows that Humanize IT, we stick out. It's hard to ignore a giant unicorn booth, right? It doesn't matter what corner we're in, we do pretty well. Like, when we were in Pitch It, we were hidden behind everyone. We were in the worst location humanly possible at ConnectWise. We still got like 350 leads out of that conference, and we still won an award at that conference for best solution. And it's the unicorn, right? People see it. And my wife's, I think somebody told her, like, be a red picket fence in a field of white picket fences. So when people are looking down this row, they see you. Now, what if you're an MSP? And we're going to have two kinds of networking here. How do you network as a vendor? But how do you network just as an attendee? How do you find people to put into your network? So, Dave, go ahead and kick us off here. What do you mean by networking? Are you talking about MSPs networking, or are you talking about vendors network?
Well, it's both, right? Vendors are going to these shows, they're putting money in to go to these shows, and it's expensive. And if they don't come out with any value, that's a hard pill to swallow for them. So how do they network? They've got to do the same things the MSPs are doing or need to do in these events. One is, for sure, is be visible, right? I think that one of the biggest problems, and somebody did a video from the Kaseya show, the last day, which is the Friday. Kaseya was in Vegas. Everybody was probably out way too late. That last day from 8 to noon, it's very painful. You've been on the show floor. MSPs have been doing a lot of
your knees hurt, your back hurts,
everything hurts, right? So of course he did this kind of live stream where he's like filming the room, and he's like, where are all the vendors? There's MSPs in the room wandering around, and 50% of the booths were empty. How do you spend the money and not show up to try to for the vendor recoup? The MSP is there putting the effort in. And I know I'm kind of flipping back between a vendor and an MSP, but the vendor spending money, you need to be in your booth. You need to utilize every second of that event to try to really, again, just get your name out, right? It's, again, you're not signing deals at these shows. You're getting your name out. You're creating awareness. The MSP side of it is, don't sit in your hotel room. Get to the show floor. I'm surprised how many MSPs or how many people attend these shows and don't take the time on the show floor. I think they think that they're going to go door to door, essentially, to the booths, and then they're just going to get, hammered when they get back of phone calls of people wanting to follow up with them. But on an MSP level, if you're smart, you can do your investigation by going to these booths, but you can deny any type of card exchange, booking a demo. You don't have to do that. But you've got all the vendors sitting there ready to discuss what they have to offer that could solve a major solution or major problem, I should say, for your client, but you choose just to walk down the aisles, glance at what's written on the boards behind the vendors, and take a snapshot of it in your brain and then decide, no, I'm not going to talk to them. And they feel if they do one lap of the floor and walk out, they've done their job for the show floor.
Not one lap here, people.
Not one lap, multiple laps. And stop and talk to the vendors. Again, just turn down any type of exchange of contact information if whatever they're presenting is not good, is not what you want, it's not what you're looking for. Fine. And you can tell them, be honest with them. I'll tell you, as a vendor, I'd rather have an MSP stand there and go, no, I'm using this, I'm never going to switch, or yeah, just not interested in what you're doing, but I'll take your card and maybe one day it's something I'll be needing. I'd rather have that than slap your card or give me your card or book a demo, and I spend that time doing that and turn around that I'm chasing you, and then you never chasing, bad word, but emailing constantly, chasing, getting a response back. And then the MSP is annoyed that I just got 6 emails or 4 emails from this vendor. Well, of course, you showed interest. That's going to be what they're trying to do. They're trying to gain you as a customer. But if you're not interested, best to just say no and not engage. Walk away, say I'm not interested. That's the end of it.
Yeah, and also before you head to a conference, do a couple things. One, think about what it is it's a gap, or what are you struggling with in your MSP. Define some pain points so that when you're talking to other people at the bar, best place to network, by the way.
Yes.
And then we'll get to that. But when you're walking the floor, so yeah, maybe we should break this episode into two. We're going to talk about the floor, and then we're going to talk about the bar.
And pre the show, and nighttime, the bar.
Yep. So here we're talking about the floor. Have in your mind problems you're trying to solve, and look for vendors who are trying to solve that problem, so you don't get distracted, so you don't waste your time just going around and around. So I'm going to equate this to, have you ever been to the American Beer Fest in Denver?
I have not, but I've heard about it, actually.
It is glorious. It is a glorious 4 hours. Now, you make a mistake. For one, you need to have a food necklace, like some pretzels or something around your neck. There's no real good snack. But two, the tip is, when you walk in, you're there with 10,000 other people during your 4-hour session.
Right.
It literally is that big. You cannot drink all the beer that's there, nor will you even understand all the vendors that are there. It's usually broken up by country or alphabetical order or whatever you want.
Right.
The goal is pick one kind of beer that you want to drink, and then go around and sample that and see which one has the best, like dry IPA or a floor IPA or an imperial or a stout, or pick your red, whatever it is. Find one kind of beer and then go around and try to figure out which one you like the best.
Yeah.
And that will give you direction on how to go around and which booths to hit. Because if you try to hit all of them and hit every beer, it's just going to start tasting like crap by the end.
Forget it. And it's too much to digest, right? That's information overload. Plus you're sitting in sessions learning, and you're trying to combine all that. It's too much.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it's like, when you get there, like, I'm really sucking with customer service. I'm going to go look at all the QBR tools.
Right.
Or I really need help with scripting and operational efficiency. So go around and look at all the operational efficiency tools. Your alert ops, go look at, the MSP OS for helping you coach and be more mature. Look at the FenSex and say, oh, this is going to help me like serve my customers better. Or I need help with security as a service. All these things. Pick one or two and be deliberate about coming home with the best in class.
Agreed. So I see it 2 ways, right? I see as there's some pre-event work to be done. So you've mentioned identify what you need. What are you missing? What are you looking for? So one, go to the app. Every show has an app. Every vendor takes their time to put a blurb or information in that app under their company name.
Yeah.
And you can read it, and you can go within 10 seconds, you're going, no, yes, make a list. So when you go and read all of them, you make a list of those guys that you want to go see, And then the other side of it would be, now, what do I want to learn? What's new in the industry that I don't know about yet that I may want to add to my stack to create or have additional security levels, additional coverage for my client to be even more protected in the cybersecurity?
Yep.
So then you can go through, and as you're reading all the other ones, you go, oh, this is cool. I never heard of these guys, but it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I think I want to stop. See, if you're making a list, so we mentioned at the top, walking up and down the aisles and kind of just looking window shopping. Make a plan before you get there. First of all, you're going to save your feet and your back and your legs, right? Because you're going to be very pointed, and just go and have those conversations. And if it's not what you thought it was, back to what we were talking about, just say, thank you, not what I was looking for, but I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Head up and you go. So I think that's the pre-conference stuff where, again, the MSP still paying to go there, still paying for a room, still paying for meals. There's an expense involved. Make it worth your time. Make sure you've done a bit of homework before you've got there so you're prepared.
Yeah. And that will help you be a little bit more deliberate. And then also, let's move on from just working the floor, like finding solutions. That's just a piece of going to these conferences. It's a good piece because you can walk away with some tools that you did not know about. This is good exposure here. And these vendors are paying a lot of money to be there and talk to you, specifically you. And maybe while you're there, say, hey, what are you doing after the event's over? And then be like, these vendors will buy you beer, dinner, whatever you want. They're spending 30, 40 grand just to stand in that space right there. Buying you $100 of liquor in a night doesn't even register on the radar.
No food, just liquor, right?
Yeah. I mean, you want to go get a steak? Okay, I'm a Nebraskan, so if you make me eat steak somewhere in Vegas, I'm gonna give you the side eye.
Right.
I'll probably order chicken. but I'll happily let you eat that crappy Vegas steak.
Yeah, exactly.
So talk to your favorite ones. Like, hey, you're here to solve a problem. You're here to solve a problem with client acquisition, with project management, whatever it is. Spend some time getting to know them over dinner or drinks afterwards, because getting into that after hours scenario. Now, it used to be like at DEF CON, there were specific parties you had to get invited to.
Right.
And you could not get in unless you were invited. And you can find some of those at these events, and they're really cool, like launch parties, and like sometimes people rent out an entire unique bar. I think MSPOS for their launch rented out the ice bar. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like everybody, all the Orlando and the Floridans and the East Coast are all sitting there like in these big old parkas trying to stay warm. And there's a couple of us from like Philadelphia and Nebraska, and we're in our t-shirts.
Right.
This ain't half bad.
Yeah. Right. This actually feels refreshing.
So look up people's faces when we just wave off the coat to go walk in. They're like, really? Like, from Nebraska? Okay, you're fine.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So like getting in and talking to those vendors that are more outgoing. For crying out loud, I'm wearing a unicorn shirt, people. I'm screaming outgoing here. And they'll introduce you to other vendors or other like really cool MSPs, because people like me and people like Dave, we get to know other MSPs. And we might say, oh, you really need to know Colin over here. You really need to know Sandra over here. And then you get to network with other MSPs.
Yeah.
And they're probably in some other part of the country. They make a great peer group for you. Put them on your Discord, on your Slack, on your Teams, and hit them up when you have problems. Chances are they're having the same problems you are, and they're an easy way to have a great conversation about something you're trying to do.
Yeah. I'm glad you went down that road, because I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. Who cares about the vendors? I think the more important relationship for an MSP is relationships with other MSPs.
Yep.
That's how you nailed it with talk to them. They're having same or similar problems. Maybe they resolve something that you're having a problem with, and you're like, oh my God, I never thought about that. Wow, I just got so much value out of that conversation. So I see like you said, it's kind of like all of a sudden you've got this peer group going on in whatever conference in some bar somewhere, in the lobby or whatever the case may be. And you're just having conversations, right? Obviously, if you're interested in a vendor, it's a great time to get to know them more. If you're going to go and hang out with them, and usually if the conference is relatively small, very easy to find everybody. Nobody really goes too far from the hotel, but those big massive ones are a little bit more difficult to network in. But you've got to be willing to engage with people, right? You got to be willing to say, hey, I met you. What are you doing later? I'd love to continue this conversation, over a drink or something along those lines. And that's how it goes. To finish the show and walk up to your room, you're missing a pretty big portion of the.
Oh yeah. Now I see that all the time. These guys, they go, I need to catch up on tickets. No, you can work tickets anytime unless your MSP is really hurting. If you have to work tickets while you're at an event, you might have some issues with your operations at your MSP.
Bingo.
Now, I get some of the smaller MSPs, you're struggling to hire people right now. That's fine. I get that. But, okay, work on tickets for an hour and then come downstairs.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you're an introvert. You're really hard at making friends. You're like, it's awkward. I'm going to sit at this bar and I don't know who to talk to. I don't know how to make friends. Now, I am an extrovert, right? I will find people. I will gather a crowd. And my friend calls it Adam holds court. No, I just like people. Anyways, when I was at DEF CON, I couldn't strike up a conversation to save my life. Now that's a bunch of super uber paranoid people.
Right.
So when you see a vendor sitting at a bar, let's say you see a sales exec. You can see the guys or the girls. You know exactly who you are when they see them. The guy's usually wearing some kind of sports coat or is wearing like a tighter fit shirt, and he'll have a lot of times you can see the tell is they have a clear glass with rocks in it. It looks like a gin and tonic with a lime on top. That's not a gin and tonic.
No, that's a soda. Fake it till you make it.
But it's good. So you're one of those people who doesn't want to be drunk and you hit the scene, like talk to that person, look for that drink and say, hey, can I have one of those? And they'll be like, this isn't alcoholic. Be like, I know, I want to keep myself fresh for tomorrow, or I'm on call tonight, but you don't want to be around with people. Talk to them.
Yeah.
They will front you, right? And then also that SE, they have one job to do in this whole world, and that's make friends.
Yeah.
And so you'll see usually the girl is or the lady, I should say, is sitting there and they're surrounded by a bunch of people and they just own the scenario. They're so good at it. And you can tell who they are when they're sitting there. And it's the guy and the girl sales execs have good instincts about how to manage people. And if you just kind of sidle up close to that circle, they'll key you in. I will key you in. I will see that you're sidling up. You don't have to ask permission. Right. Just walk close to the circle that I'm holding or the people that are there. And I will see you trying to get into the circle, and I'm going to pull you in a very nonchalant way. It's masterful. Watch the sales exec, male or female, do it.
Yeah.
They're so good at it. You don't see them do it. You'll see them actually like just the circle. You'll see them make a joke and like pull things over, or they'll reach over and say, "Hey, can you grab me that thing next to you?" And you're in the circle. Yeah. They're so good at it.
I agree. I think it's I've had a lot of conversations, and yeah, there's obviously introverted people in the world, and quite a few in our industry. No doubt about that. Not a surprise. And I've talked to people. I said, hey, just what are you doing tonight? And they're like, oh, I just was gonna go and have a little bite to eat and go to my room. I'm like, well, why don't you come hang out with us? And he's like, well, what are you guys doing? I said, well, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna go to the bar for a bit. And yeah, well, I don't really drink. I said, that's fine. You don't have to drink to come to the bar. Just come out and hang out, and that's my style, right? My style is like, just come and like, don't worry about it. Just hang out and we'll have a blast and we'll have some laughs and maybe you'll get to meet some great people. Some people,
yeah.
And that's the key, right? The key is not like, oh, everyone's going out and they're all going out, like if it's in Vegas and people do it, just go,
Oh,
yeah,
you find me? I'm at the Scotch bar, guys. I'm sitting there with a whiskey, or if you catch me with my lime on top, it's because I'm done for the night.
that's right.
But I still want to hang out.
Yeah. Actually, when we were at Right a Boom in Vegas, I can't remember the name of that bar that was right there, kind of right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And
We kind of claimed it.
yeah, we kind of claimed that little couch area and that, and we sat there, and yeah, we were just having a little sippy drink, and a couple of people came and went, and yeah, it was great. That's why you do it, just chill it.
Were we at the Scotch bar or were we at the other one?
I think it was called Bar Commons or something like that, and
Oh, the common bar. There was another Scotch one where a bunch of us hung out because we found the couches there were really comfortable.
right. I believe.
Yeah, there was that huge area where we were sitting, and yeah, people would just kind of join and go away.
Yeah.
And and when you're networking, get in there because eventually, if for me, I'll try to feel the tone. Usually, I try to break people into threes. So if you're in my area, you'll see me like just start breaking things into threes, and it's a social structure. And so people have these little micro conversations around because you can't shout across a table. It's just too much work.
Yeah.
Well, you'll see people break up. So if you make sure a vendor sits over a caddy corner from you, they'll be part of that three, and then you'll be part of this three.
Yeah.
And we just sidle up, but get to know these people. And if you don't know anybody, you're there alone, and you're really self-conscious because, man, I like talking to people, but I'm just not really good at reaching out.
Yeah.
Find a sales exec. Find somebody wearing a freaking unicorn shirt like me, and just come buddy up with us and be like, all right, introduce yourself. Like, hey, my name's Dave Make. I'm here from San Diego. I'm like, all right, man, can I buy you a drink? Yep, that's how it goes.
And you know what? I've sit in these groups before, and you're talking about like those little compartments of conversations that end up happening in a bigger group. But you know what I also look for? I also look for that one person that might be struggling. Is that introverted that's trying to come out to hang out and doesn't really know how to get. I'll not push away, but I'll turn and I'll go to the other person and say, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And like you said, pull that person into that conversation and pull that person into the group. Because I think it's very valuable. One thing I do, just generally speaking, in shows or anything, I guess, in with everybody in this industry, if somebody needs help, I will help. If somebody has a question, I will go and get the answer for you, and I will help you to make sure that, if it's making you successful or helping you in any way, I will do it. I don't look for anything in return. I just want to make sure, I can share my knowledge with people that I have or contacts that I have, let's say.
Yeah. And let's just make sure that we wrap up this conversation with the three great things about networking at an event, whether you're a vendor or you're an MSP, who technically is a vendor. So, you're coming in. One, be prepared. What do you want to get out of the solutions pavilion? What do you want to get out of the talks? Make sure you're like lining all that up ahead of time.
Use the app before you go.
Use the app before you go. Two, hit the after hours events. You don't necessarily have to hit the structured dinners. Those are nice and all. And the vendor's paying a lot of money to take you somewhere really nice. So you actually get to have a nice quieter setting. Hit those up. But if afterwards, make sure you're hitting the bar. Even if you don't drink, get a soda. Everybody's gonna think it's a Jack and Coke anyways. Exactly. And no one's gonna judge you. No one's gonna feel bad like, oh, that guy doesn't drink. Like, no, like, we're all there. Half of us aren't drinking anyways because we're trying to stay sober, so we stay sharp.
That's right.
I tend to have a couple drinks and then I switch over to something non-alcoholic, or I start drinking more water in between drinks as I can tell the night's going to go on.
And by the way,
great conversations happen a little later.
And by the way, you don't have to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You can stay of course, the conference part ends at 6 or 7. You go out till 9, 9:30, 10, and split. Do your thing. Get out.
Yep. I don't know what that ding noise was, but I think we're about done.
Maybe that's what it is. So the bulb went on. It's over.
All right. Yeah. So those are the three things. Be prepared. Go with intent to the solutions pavilion.
Yes.
Be a little curious around there. It's kind of once you hit your rounds, then like look for interesting things that maybe you didn't know about. And then 3, hit up the after hours. And if you're nervous about it, find a sales exec that you met on the floor and sidle up to them. Hey, I talked to you on Solutions Pavilion. Just here to hang out for the next couple hours. Cool. Awesome. I want you there.
I think that most of us as vendors, we see somebody we talk to at our booth and they pass or approach, we're in. We're like, hey, yeah, we talked earlier. This is great. I get to know you better.
Definitely. It's been a great conversation, Dave. We should we'll have you on again, talk about some more things. I think you had a whole bunch of topics here. One of the last ones that we didn't get around to was helping MSPs choose that right vendor. How do you avoid the charlatan and get the person who's actually going to help you? And there are a lot of charlatans out there, people. And those are people who are pretending to do the right thing, but they know that there's a buck to be made. So how do you find the right vendor who's going to find a solution for you?
Yeah, as I like to say it, don't buy something that's shiny. Make sure you do your due diligence. Don't get caught in with it does shininess.
Yep. Hey, mine's shiny and it does its job. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dave, for coming on, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Adam.